being gay does not define who I am. But in Jamaica, and the way we're treated, that's exactly what it leaves us to feel. Being gay defines who I am. I'm less than, I will never be as good as, and I will never be accepted.
28-year-old Craig Michael says being a homosexual in Jamaica is considered one of the most horrific acts on the Caribbean island. Known globally for its reggae music, athletic stars, and tourist attractions, Jamaica has captured the world's attention. But the beautiful country is being dubbed by human rights groups as a place blatantly unaccepting to men who have sex with men. Craig says it's heartbreaking for him not being accepted in a country which he loves and was born in. The attacks, threats, and blatant violence against him and the LGBT community has left him feeling hopeless. The unemployed youngster has faced countless instances of discrimination, including being told to leave his home, being threatened and attacked just because of his sexual orientation. The hate and blatant unacceptance was too much for him. One day, he made the decision to take his own life.
I had some pills and I said them, they were expired and I said them. I never wanted, I just wanted one that was not painful, a death that was not painful. You feel deflated, you don't want to exist. You don't want to be a human. You don't want to be here in Jamaica.
Fortunately, his suicide attempt was unsuccessful. However, the attacks, intolerance, and threats on his life continued unabated. Stone-throwing attacks by people in his community is something that Craig is used to. But it was one such incident which left his partner nursing injuries to the face, which forced him to take steps to leave Jamaica permanently.
We were at home one night and there was a stone throwing on the roof, and and that's because of her sexuality. One day, as someone threw a stone, it hit him in his face, cut. His face was really bruised, cut, I didn't know what to do. I was nervous, we just went inside, we locked up the place. Still afraid to call the police. Because they're going to come, they're going to check why two guys live in a house alone, are you gay and stuff like that. We're afraid of that question,
Craig further expressed anger that the LGBT community are forced out of school and their homes because of their homosexuality. Chrissy, who has been homeless since the age of 12, is one such example.
When I was starting the first term at school in September, I was there until I finished the first term, and I didn't go back the second term. So I would get bones in my back if I'm in the classroom, bones would throw in my back. Guys would throw stuff at me and so forth. So I was threatened. I get in arguments more than once and even fights. If it was just only teasing and stuff, I would be still going to school, but I was threatened. At lunchtime, I can't eat my lunch in peace.
His face has been scarred and teeth punched out as a result of beatings, something that is quite prevalent if you choose to be openly gay in a society deeply entrenched with homophobic sentiments.
That's one of the worst tragedy, because after that beating, I just move a little, not even a feet good away from there. I went around by a truck and I have to stay there for about 4 hours because I was so tense, I was so much in pain, my body was paining me. Persons look down at you and stuff like that, you feel neglected at times and so forth, so I don't wish that life for anyone. I cried more than once.
Executive Director of J-Flag, an organization advocating for the rights of the LGBT community in Jamaica, says the group has received countless calls detailing attacks or a desire to leave the island because of discrimination homosexuals in Jamaica face.
Almost on a daily basis we get calls about individuals who have been physically harmed or are at threat, great risk of being physically harmed in their homes, being put out by family members in their communities because community members have an issue with either their sexual orientation or their gender expression. Young teen who was also displaced from his community, made homeless. He sought refuge with some friends, and all of them were going out to party that night. They chose that night to cross-dress, and he thought that it would be something that he would want to do as well, which he had done a few times before. Went to a street dance, seemed to have been outed by a girlfriend who he had gone to church with, and that really initiated his demise. He was stabbed, shot at 3 times. I heard he was also run over by a car and literally left to die on the side of the road.
Lewis says homophobia is entrenched in the mentality of Jamaicans, a deep-rooted perception that is perpetuated by Jamaican dancehall music, which openly incites the burning, shooting, and persecution of gays. He cited the number of gay youngsters who had to live in an open drain because they were forced out of their homes. Lewis adds, what makes matters worse is that some authorities are adamant homosexuality is unacceptable in Jamaica, a position validated by the Jamaican legislation, which makes the act of buggery liable to 10 years imprisonment. Minister of Justice Mark Golding acknowledges the widespread homophobia in Jamaica, further highlighting that there is a need for more tolerance and acceptance.
The homosexual lifestyle is not accepted in the country culturally by the majority of people. Those who choose to come out and be more expressive of their sexuality in public will often face criticism or worse. So it's an issue for Jamaica, a difficult issue for Jamaica. There have been instances of mob-type violence against gay men.
Golding says that Jamaica is evolving and steps are being taken by his government to ensure that.
We are actually reviewing the sexual offences legislation in Parliament. There's a joint select committee of Parliament that has been undertaking a review of this. So I'm hopeful that we will come to the point here in Jamaica where persons are tolerant of others who have a different sexual orientation, whether they choose to hide it or choose to express it, and don't consider it necessary to be abusive or even violent against them. I would like to see that consenting adults are not criminalized for what they do in private. That should not be dealt with through the criminal law. If they are adults, they're consenting and they're in private.
The minister, however, says that in some cases, homophobia in Jamaica is exaggerated on the international stage, especially by gays on the island who may have their own agenda. He nevertheless noted that steps are being taken by his government to address the issue. Sentiments echoed by Minister of Youth, Lisa Hanna.
Our Constitution is very clear that all persons have a right to life and certainly should be protected under the Constitution. And so they have certain issues which we've been discussing, and we continue to have dialogue. If there is a minor who is being harmed and a child who is being harmed who is considered that way, I have a duty as a minister, regardless of what sexuality, what religion, what class, what race, how much money the person has. I have a duty under my Constitution to protect that individual and make sure no harm comes to that individual.
A universal periodic review under the auspices of the United Nations Human Rights Council says the issue of male sexuality was one of great sensitivity in Jamaica society, in which cultural norms, religious and standards underlay a rejection of male homosexual behavior by a large majority of Jamaicans. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller rebuked gay rights protesters who crashed her address at the launch of the 6th biannual Jamaica Diaspora Conference in New York. Simpson Miller is adamant her position and that of her People's National Party government is different from that of the previous administration of Bruce Golding, who famously said he would not allow gays to serve in his cabinet. But regardless of the position of the government, the LGBT community says life in Jamaica still remains extremely difficult for them, and simple things such as attaining an education or fulfilling a dream has been dashed just because of who they choose to love.
I want to be someone. I have dreams, I have passions, and in a country, a Christian culture like Jamaica, as I tell you, being homeless and gay, it is very hard. Persons look down at you and so forth, so it's very hard to be highlighted.
How often am I happy? I can't be a human being, but just feel like because of my sexuality, it ends right there. The word gay means happy, right? Not in Jamaica.
Craig has called on the international community to help educate the Jamaican society to make them understand that gays are not pedophiles or have a sexually contracted disease just because they are gay, a stereotype perpetuated in Jamaica. He had this message to the international community.
Help us if you can. Help us if you can by not just physically, not say physical, but not just financial help, but help us to educate every people. Just help us, continue helping us to educate people. Let them understand that we're not animals, we're not worse than, we're not less than. We're human beings just the same, and we're loving people.